There was a time the Green Bay Packers were one season away from disappearing forever. But one decision changed everything. They're the only major pro sports team in North America that isn't owned by a billionaire or a corporation. Instead, they're owned by the fans. I'm Ono Sinde, and this is The Underrated. We share stories that showcase game-changing strategies and moments that shape business, music, sports, and culture as we know it today. The Green Bay Packers are one of the most iconic teams in sports history, not just because of their championships, but because of how they survived when most teams like them disappeared. To understand why Green Bay is so different from every other NFL franchise, you have to go all the way back to 1923. During that time, professional football was unstable and constantly on the verge of collapse. Teams were folding often, franchises were relocated without warning, and smaller market teams were always the first ones to lose their teams. Green Bay was the smallest city in the league, and their money was running out fast. They didn't have a wealthy owner to step in to cover the losses or investors to save the franchise. By 1923, the team was drowning in debt and on the verge of being kicked out of the league altogether. It looked like if they had one more failed season, that would have signaled the end of professional football in Green Bay forever. At the center of all this was the legend himself, Curly Lambeau. Curly was the team's co-founder, head coach, and the man whose name would become the stadium. Lambeau wasn't just building a football team, he was fighting to keep the Packers alive. Rather than selling the team or moving to a bigger city, Lambeau and local business leaders made the decision that had never been tried in professional sports. What they did is they decided to sell shares of the Green Bay Packers to the public. This move wasn't about raising capital to make profits or paying dividends. It was about having pride in owning a piece of the Packers. It meant keeping football alive in a small Wisconsin town that realistically had no business competing with cities like Chicago or New York. The money raised through public ownership kept the Packers alive long enough to stabilize the franchise. Then something unexpected happened. The Packers didn't just survive, they started winning. Over time, Green Bay became one of the most successful franchises in the NFL. They won multiple championships, produced legends, and they have built a legacy that few teams in any sport can match. What makes this even more remarkable is till this day, their ownership model never disappeared. Today, more than 530,000 people own shares of the Green Bay Packers, with over 5 million shares in existence. No one is allowed to own more than 200,000 shares, which means no single person can ever take full control of the team. When you're a shareholder of the Packers, you receive voting rights, you get to elect the board of directors and the executive committee that oversees the organization. Once a year, they're invited to Lambeau Field for the annual shareholders meeting. This is where tens of thousands of fans gather in the offseason to vote on the future of their team, and they receive a physical certificate proving they own a part of an NFL franchise. The Packers are in a very unique position. In today's NFL, teams can threaten to relocate over stadium deals not going through. Team owners leverage cities for public funding, and franchises change markets based on profit projections. Green Bay, the people will never allow them to move. After seeing how powerful this ownership model became, the NFL stepped in to make sure it would never happen again. The league introduced what's now known as the Green Bay Rule, which bans ownership of public and non-profit teams. The Packers, they're grandfathered in, making them the only franchise in the league allowed to operate like this. The irony is that this model wasn't banned because it failed, it was banned because it worked too well. While every other team in the NFL is ran like a business, Green Bay is ran like a community. The Green Bay Packers aren't owned by a billionaire, they aren't controlled by private equity, they're owned by the fans. The Packers aren't just a football team. They're proof that ownership doesn't always have to mean control. Sometimes it just means responsibility. In a league dominated by billion-dollar deals and billionaire owners, Green Bay stands alone. It's owned by the people, they're powered by tradition, and protected by a rule designed to make sure no one else could ever copy them. If you enjoyed this video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to our channel. We release videos like this every Wednesday on YouTube.